There is a diamond on someone's finger right now that they paid $4,000 for. And a factory in central China can make the exact same stone, atom for atom, in 7 days for a few $100s. Not a fake, not a cheaper imitation, not cubic zirconia or crystal or glass. The same diamond, same hardness, same sparkle, same chemical structure. So identical that a professional gemologist sitting at a desk with a magnifying loupe cannot tell them apart. The only way to prove which one came from the ground and which one came from a machine is with specialized laboratory equipment that scans the crystal for trace elements. No human eye can do it. And here is what that means. The entire idea that a diamond is rare, precious, and worth thousands of dollars, the idea that an entire industry was built on, the idea that made one company one of the most powerful businesses of the 20th century, was just quietly destroyed by a county in China that most people have never heard of. The diamonds coming out of that county are so cheap now that the workers there have a saying. They say diamonds are as cheap as cabbage. And the company that spent 80 years convincing the world otherwise is being sold off for parts because it cannot stop losing money. To understand how big this is, you have to understand that this is not just a story about cheaper jewelry. It is a story about the collapse of one of the most successful illusions in modern history. For most of the last century, one company controlled the diamond world so completely that it decided how many diamonds existed, who was allowed to buy them, and what price everyone paid. It built its entire empire on a single idea, that diamonds are rare. That idea was never true. Diamonds were never actually rare. And the moment technology made that fact impossible to hide, the whole thing started to come apart. By the end of this video, you will understand how the scarcity of diamonds was manufactured, how a small county in China broke the illusion forever, and why the $4,000 stone on someone's finger may be one of the last of its kind to ever sell at that price. If you enjoy stories about technology and manufacturing, quietly dismantling industries that everyone assumed would last forever, hit like and subscribe so you never miss one. Let us get into it, because this story starts with a lie, not a small marketing exaggeration. One of the most deliberate, most profitable, and most successful lies in the entire history of advertising. Go back to the 1930s. Diamond sales were falling. The Great Depression had crushed spending. And here is the part most people do not know. Diamond engagement rings were not a tradition. They were not ancient wisdom passed down through generations. In many cultures, engagement rings did not exist at all. In others, people used colored gemstones or simple gold bands. The idea that a man must give a woman a diamond, specifically before she agrees to marry him, did not exist as a social norm. It had to be invented. And in 1938, a South African mining company called De Beers, which controlled the vast majority of the world's rough diamond supply, set out to invent it. They hired an advertising agency with a simple assignment: make Americans want to buy diamonds. The agency's solution was genius, and it was manipulation on a massive scale. They did not advertise diamonds directly. Instead, they engineered a culture. They put diamonds on the fingers of movie stars. They planted stories in magazines about glamorous celebrity proposals with enormous rings. They convinced fashion designers and etiquette writers to declare that a proper proposal required a diamond. Not a ruby, not a sapphire, a diamond. And in 1947, a copywriter at that agency wrote 4 words that would become one of the most recognized phrases in advertising history. A diamond is forever. Those 4 words did 2 things at once, and both were deliberate. First, they linked the diamond to the idea of eternal, unbreakable love. Buy this stone, and your marriage lasts forever. But the second thing was even more clever and far more cynical. If a diamond is forever, then you never sell it. And that mattered enormously, because if millions of people resold their old diamonds, all those used stones would flood the market and prices would crash. By making resale feel emotionally wrong, almost like a betrayal, De Beers kept old diamonds locked away in drawers and jewelry boxes, out of the market, protecting the illusion of scarcity. Over the following decades, De Beers poured hundreds of millions of dollars into this campaign. They invented the rule that a man should spend 2 months of his salary on a ring. A rule that came from nowhere except a marketing department. They exported the formula to Japan, where diamond engagement rings went from virtually non-existent in the 1960s to standard practice within about 15 years. They ran the same playbook in India, in Brazil, in China. Every new market, the same 3 steps. Associate diamonds with love. Make the purchase feel mandatory. And above all, control the supply so the price never falls. Controlling the supply is where De Beers was truly ruthless. At its peak, the company controlled roughly 80% of the world's rough diamond distribution. Authorized buyers were invited to London 10 times a year. They were handed a sealed box of diamonds at a fixed price. They could accept the box or refuse it, but they were not allowed to negotiate. If they refused too often, they lost their invitation entirely. De Beers decided what was available, how much, and at what price. When too many diamonds came out of the mines, De Beers bought up the surplus and locked it away in vaults. When new mines were discovered in Russia or Australia or Canada, De Beers either bought into them or signed exclusive deals to keep those stones off the open market. The entire system was built to protect one secret. Diamonds are not rare. The earth holds enormous quantities of them. But the public had to believe they were rare, and the only way to maintain that belief was to make sure the supply never grew large enough to reveal the truth. And for most of the 20th century, it worked flawlessly. A stone that cost a few $100s to mine, cut, and polish was sold for thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, because the buyer believed they were holding something scarce and eternal. The product was real, the scarcity was fake. And then, China figured out how to grow the exact same stone in a machine. Now here is where the story turns, and where the technology comes in, because the method China used is almost absurd in its simplicity. It goes back to 1963, when a research team at the Chinese Academy of Sciences produced the country's first lab-grown diamond. The goal back then had nothing to do with jewelry. China's factories needed industrial diamonds for cutting tools, drill bits, and grinding wheels, and importing them was expensive and unreliable. So China decided to make its own. 2 years later, engineers in Henan province built the country's first 6-anvil press. And to understand what that machine does, picture this. You take a tiny seed crystal of diamond, about the size of a grain of rice. You place it inside a capsule with a carbon source, usually graphite, and a metal catalyst. Then you squeeze. 6 anvils close in from every direction at once, applying pressure from all sides simultaneously. The pressure reaches about 60,000 times the pressure of the air you are breathing right now. To put that in perspective, that is roughly the same pressure that exists 300 kilometers below the surface of the Earth, deep in the upper mantle, where natural diamonds actually form. At the same time, the capsule is heated to around 1500 degrees Celsius. Under those conditions, the carbon atoms in the graphite dissolve, migrate to the seed crystal, and begin depositing themselves layer by layer, building the diamond crystal structure one atomic layer at a time. Over about 7 to 10 days, that grain of rice becomes a full diamond. The process is called HPHT, high pressure, high temperature. And when you really think about what is happening inside that press, it is staggering. You are doing exactly what the Earth does. The same pressure, the same temperature, the same carbon atoms arranging into the same crystal lattice. The Earth takes 1 billion years because its conditions are chaotic and uncontrolled. The press takes a week because every variable is perfectly controlled. 1 billion years of geology compressed into 7 days. For about 20 years, Chinese factories only made industrial diamonds. Small, cloudy, brown or yellow stones, good for cutting and grinding, but nowhere near jewelry quality. Then, one county changed everything. In central China, a cluster of diamond factories began to form, drawn by cheap land, available labor, and a local government eager to support the industry. Through the 1990s and 2000s, these factories multiplied and, crucially, they got better. Not through one big breakthrough, but through 1,000 small improvements. Better press designs gave more consistent pressure and temperature. Higher quality seed crystals meant fewer defects. Improved catalysts produced cleaner, more colorless stones. Each improvement pushed the quality slightly higher until something remarkable happened. Chinese lab-grown diamonds started grading alongside the finest natural stones in the world. By 2020, the transformation was complete. These factories were producing diamonds in the highest color grades, colorless to near colorless, with clarity so high that only a gemologist with magnification could spot any flaw. These were not good enough substitutes. They were indistinguishable from top-tier mined diamonds to anyone without a laboratory. And the scale is what makes it almost hard to believe. This one county grew from a few 100,000 carats of gem-quality stones in the early 2000s to over 10 million carats a year. Today, this single county produces around 60% of all of China's lab-grown diamonds, and China produces roughly 70% of all lab-grown diamonds made anywhere on Earth. Do that math. One county, with a population smaller than many cities, is responsible for close to a third of the entire global supply of diamonds that did not come from a mine. And it did all of this quietly, almost invisibly, while the companies that had controlled the diamond business for a century barely noticed. Now, here is the proof that this is not just a story about a faraway factory, because you can measure the impact in the collapse of the most powerful diamond company in history. De Beers made about $6.6 billion in revenue in 2022. The next year it dropped. The year after, it dropped further. By 2025, revenue had nearly been cut in half, down to around $3.5 billion, and the company posted a net loss in the billions. Over those same 3 years, Anglo American, the mining giant that owns most of De Beers, wrote down the value of the diamond business by a total of $6.8 billion. $6.8 billion in value gone. Not because the mines ran dry, because the exact same product could now be grown in a factory for a fraction of the cost. And De Beers tried everything to fight back. In 2018, it launched its own lab-grown diamond brand, deliberately pricing it cheap, trying to convince buyers that synthetic diamonds were low-quality fashion trinkets, fundamentally different from the real thing. It backfired completely. By 2025, De Beers shut that brand down. It had accidentally proven that lab-grown diamonds were a legitimate market. The company tried blockchain tracking to give natural diamonds a provenance story. Consumers did not care enough to pay extra. It cut production. It slashed the number of authorized buyers. And in July 2026, De Beers finally gave up on maintaining its official above-market prices, cutting them across every category to match what stones were actually selling for. Anglo American put De Beers up for sale, and as of now, finding a buyer has been extremely difficult, because who wants to buy a business that has lost billions and faces a competitor whose technology gets cheaper every single year? And the damage does not stop at one company. Natural diamond prices fell to their lowest level this century. A 1-carat natural stone that sold for around $6,000 in 2021 now goes for roughly $4,200. The lab-grown version of that same stone sells for $700 to $1,000 at retail, and the wholesale price keeps falling. Botswana, a country that depends heavily on diamond revenue, had its credit rating cut specifically because of the diamond market's weakness. Think about that. A nation's ability to borrow money was downgraded because factories in China learned to grow diamonds in a press. In the United States, one of the largest American lab-grown diamond producers filed for bankruptcy, unable to compete with Chinese prices, ironically crushed by the very technology it was trying to sell. And lab-grown diamonds have now captured a large and growing share of the American engagement ring market, especially among buyers under 35. A generation that grew up seeing through marketing, that cares about value and sustainability, simply is not interested in paying 5 times more for a stone that looks, feels, and tests exactly the same. Now, it is important to be honest about what this does and does not mean. It does not mean natural diamonds are worthless. At the very top of the market, for large, exceptional stones, the story of a billion-year-old gem pulled from deep inside the earth still carries real emotional and financial value. Rare-colored diamonds, historic stones, and museum-grade gems will likely always command a premium. It also does not mean lab-grown diamonds are a good investment. They are not. Their prices are falling, not rising, which means the diamond you buy today will likely be worth less next year, not more. And there is a genuine debate about whether a manufactured stone carries the same emotional meaning as one formed over a billion years. For some people, the origin matters deeply, and that is a personal choice no technology can settle. But for the vast majority of diamonds sold, the everyday stones between half a carat and a carat and a half, the origin story now has to compete with a price gap of 4 to 1, and widening. And for most people saving for a home, a wedding, and a future, a $4,000 difference matters far more than where the carbon crystallized. And there is one more layer to this that almost nobody is talking about yet. Diamonds are not just jewelry. Diamond is the hardest known material. It has the highest thermal conductivity of any solid, and it has properties that could make it a superior semiconductor to silicon for certain high-power, high-frequency applications. Research teams in China and elsewhere are already working on diamond-based semiconductor wafers for power electronics, quantum computing, and advanced chip cooling. And here is the part that should make you pause. The same presses in that Chinese county that currently grow engagement ring diamonds could one day be retooled to grow components for the next generation of computer chips. The factories are already built. The expertise already exists. The supply chain is already running. If diamond semiconductors become viable, China will not be starting from zero. It will already be there. But whether that future arrives in 5 years or 20, the present is already clear. The idea that powered an entire industry for 80 years, the idea that diamonds are rare, has been proven false by a county in central China that grows them like a crop. The company that built the myth is being dismantled. The country that depended on diamond money has had its credit downgraded, and the presses keep running. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Every week, another diamond. Every month, another million carats. The machines do not care about marketing campaigns, or engagement traditions, or the emotional meaning of a stone. They just apply heat and pressure and wait. A billion years of geology compressed into a single week. If this changed how you think about something you were told was rare and precious, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this is exactly the kind of story we tell here. Here is a question for you. De Beers spent 80 years convincing the world that a diamond had to come from the ground to mean something. China just proved that it does not. So, if a factory can grow the exact same diamond in 7 days for a fraction of the price, what does the word rare even mean anymore? Drop your answer in the comments.